Spoon bending secrets in the Matrix. Yes, you've all been exposed to the Matrix movie with the spoon bending story. And so here is the background to what caused similar effects in the Matrix. Here we're going to talk about the Uri Geller Effect. You can check the research on the internet. In the Uri Geller Effect, you have the point where people in varying distances to Uri Geller, or watching on television or listening to his show, would suddenly be able to also bend spoons and or stop clocks. And what they have found is that at various distances from Uri Geller, the effects will differ, and some people will be more effective and some less effective. To understand this better, one must study a phenomena that was prevalent in the 1950s big time, which was that of materialization through the use of ectoplasm. There you can look at the research with Victor Zammit about life after death, so that you can understand what ectoplasm is. What they understand of it at this stage is that it is a substance that is in the physical body in varying degrees, and that this substance is used by the medium to be able to bring about the formation of various forms, which then is called materializations. Now, as you would notice throughout time, is that the amount of people that can do deep trance mediumship as materialization has diminished to virtually nothing. Something has changed. Within that, more and more people has become aware that there is a particular point that can be used in influencing people. This you will find happening in, for instance, the law of attraction, in the Galactic Federation of Light, in organizations that bring people together and create a hype so that they can all act as one. You'll see this in world wars, you'll see it in culture, you'll see it in political rallies, you'll see it in the church. All of it are using, in effect, the form of ectoplasm, or the form of the physical substance within people that comes together, and suddenly all the people turn into zombies without common sense. You will have all kinds of phenomena manifesting because you require a very strong believer within the core that becomes, in a way, your medium, through which you will have, for instance, the manifestation of orbs, and then you suddenly have witnesses saying, I saw orbs, and therefore the message must be true. All common sense is suddenly lost, and the whole physical reality is treated as an illusion, and these illusions conjured up through the abuse of a substance that is not grasped at all is suddenly seen as truth. So, positive thinking, for instance, groups specifically would utilize this to great benefit. Do they have any clue how it really works? No, not at all. They only know that it works, and the central figure around which it is normally centered would then, to their own benefit, use it to bring about a message which unfortunately never is a practical solution for life on earth, which is in itself the very reason why you should not concern yourself with such messages, because there are messages of self-interest and simply there for abuse. Not even Uri Geller himself understands exactly the extent of what he is really doing. Partly because, as you will see if you look at my blogs in terms of mediumship, the mediumship is pre-designed within a particular bloodline, and upon death will normally transfer from one family member to the next. You can see in my blogs how I described that actually happened. And normally if you look at psychic development, that development will happen in a group, and that is specifically a focus on animating this particular substance in a way that one can utilize it as a more substantial feeling that happens to the medium when they start speaking, and you then perceive a new awareness or consciousness or personality emerging. All of it, though, takes great effort because it draws on the specific substance from the various people present in a meeting. It doesn't happen alone. If it was really free and actually happening, one will have this happening in terms of others witnessing it as a normal act, not as something that requires particular introduction of a particular environment, which you can also call a particular vibration or frequency. If it is dependent on saying, for instance, being positive or having a particular state of being, a particular feeling, a particular energy, then there is already a question, because you are creating, in fact, a dimension specific that is utilizing the substance, like ectoplasm, within which you can then produce, normally without even understanding how, a particular phenomena like an orb or little light flying, or a thing you can call a UFO. All of it, though, subject to a particular physical substance, which is in varying degrees in every human body, and which is then abused. You could do yourself a favor and go to places like a Happy Clappy Church or these kite flying aeroplane games, where people do the positive thinking thing more in its real form, where everybody get together and form a pyramid and then pay money in a particular structure with no other effect but to make money from each other. There they will introduce, for instance, very specific music. They will stand and clap. They will dance. You'll see this also in cultures. And then they will utilize the hype, the vibration, the energy that's generated, that becomes quite possessive, to get people to agree to part with their money. In most countries this has now become illegal to use aeroplanes, but they have been of great effect that has made some people a lot of money. Understand that the basic desire of self-interest is a primary desire of each human. So when a positive thinking group would use that to benefit themselves, they will focus intensely on the total exclusion of anything that may in any way question what they're doing, because they claim that, first of all, they're experiencing what is happening. Yes, you are, because you are under the influence of this energetic substance, which is under the influence of a group, and you would then be subject to that in terms of how you experience yourself. You'll have that, for instance, as a result whenever, if you look at the Second World War, how all the Germans, in spite of various degrees of integrity and various degrees of intellectual ability, by combining them all around a central idea, an idea which was in this case particularly culturally and nation-based, that means it was a genetic alignment, you would create a form of madness. The madness is the result of the commonality that is introduced through the physical substance that becomes the primary driving force that cause people to act in these strange behaviors. And eventually you have to break it up virtually, physically, to stop the madness. You can exercise or investigate this in terms of creating dimensions, in terms of utilizing, for instance, substances like ecstasy. You're able to create a particular vibe through which you can demonstrate how the substance is utilized and functioning within the context of a group. Now, this is in particularly to an answer asked by members of Jinn that claim to have seen and witnessed certain events around the Galactic Federation of Light. Now, please understand that the Galactic Federation of Light in itself was a functional group under the command of the reptilians. So if you were able to leave your body and actually go and directly witness what is going on in terms of who and what the reptilians are, you would see this. Even what is more fascinating is that even the particular symbols that is utilized for the Galactic Federation of Light are exactly the same in heaven or in the hereafter or in the dimensions. Now understand that hereafter does not necessarily mean after death. It means another dimension. When you die, the physical body, which are specific to this dimension and thus specific to the dust of this dimension, would end. And anything related to that would end as well. The only part that remains is that part that also exists in other dimensions. So if those dimensions are not one and equal within and as who you are, you immediately end upon death as well. And the bit of you that continue, you cannot any longer call you, because you will not remember your name, your family, any relationship you've had on earth. So everything that now defines who you are, which is family, culture, language, all of that no longer exists. So in terms of this substance point we're talking about, it is what one can also term the quantum physical. The quantum physical play a primary role in the life of any human from the age of 0 to 7, within which 80% of all the relationships that determines who you are is absorbed by the physical body, not the mind. The mind only developed out of that, and that's why when a child is born, there is no immediate ability to think, to speak. Everything the child does is a form of physical communication, until eventually they are able to speak a language and develop character and personality and are able to start thinking. Those things only happen later, after the transfer of all the stuff of the particular family, bloodline, environment, culture, religion that the person is born into. That starts to immediately then come through as an influential point within the character formation and personality formation of the being, and you are thus in effect, because of what happens through the initial 7-year phase, where your body and especially the communication part of it is far more active. You are in fact programmed to become what you are now, but none of that you have any exact clue as to how you became what you are now. You are not even your name. Your name is something randomly chosen by your parents according to something they like, and they will find a reason and a meaning as to why they like the name, and they will tell it to you to make you feel special. And so the whole process of self-interest starts, and suddenly this name, you will say, is me, but it isn't. It is a name of your parents that they gave to you. It's not you. It's them. But would you really hear me? Because the problem is, within the context of your total existence, you are at all times functioning within groups, at all times functioning according to the influences in your life, at all times being influenced by the interaction of ectoplasm, which in itself will determine in varying degrees how you would make decisions, what you would see as true, what you would experience as real, what feelings, emotions you will be experiencing. And behind that is multi-dimensions of the quantum mind, within which you have layered memories, character formations that are constantly busy evolving so that you can become better as a human. But you're never really becoming better, because the evidence of your change and evolution is the physical world. And as you've noticed, the more we increase in number of humans on earth, the greater the suffering and the problems. And now we have half the world starving. Not even 100 years ago, there wasn't even so many people on the planet. Interestingly enough, what will be used to justify all of this is statistics. Statistical information is what is used to justify decisions and laws that is made to manage the human, because according to the research in consciousness and psychological influence, the human is irrational and therefore must be managed. Certainly, if you look at the thoughts, the secret mind, and the inner conflict that is happening in the human, and how the human are willing to harm just in the name of self-interest, and willing to justify that as the right to freedom and free choice, one can realize the extent of the irrationality of the human, because the consequence of harm always have the consequence of correction. That means what you do to another happens to you or your children. It is a known fact within any form of research that there is a correlation. How does the correlation exist? It exists as the very nature of yourself in a physical design within you as your memories. Whatever you do, you never forget, even if you try, because it is you. It is in fact you living within the context of reality you have designed for yourself alone in self-interest, and you only allow people in there that's going to benefit you. You do not allow or consider that it is possible to exist in this world in a way that is best for everyone, always, which will solve the problem. Within that context, obviously, the first 7 years of life, within the time in which a child becomes in totality what their mind will become as they take on the total program and existence of the family or the most important people in their lives, that part is the part that requires great attention. And we can solve the problem. So, which makes it possible to, within a few short generations, change the world to a place that is, in fact, best for all. But, unfortunately, those that we have as leaders are those that are managing to influence people through abusing forces that they don't even understand actually even exist. What is clear, if you go and do your research around ectoplasm and you start to implement an effect of that in various groups, and you start looking at the Uri Geller Effect, these are all points from which one can learn. You can learn that you should not be influenced by points that is not repeatable, consistent, and without energy. A point is only real if it can be there without your liking or disliking it. It exists regardless. You'll find in many of these positive points, it cannot exist unless you are positive. It is dependent on your state of mind. Therefore, it isn't real because you are creating it through your state of mind. If you are removed and your positiveness and everyone's positiveness is removed, the point no longer exists. Therefore, it is not real. And this goes for any form of grouping, communicating about anything. If it is dependent on your energetic input, on your belief, on your being there and sharing your ectoplasm, although you won't even know you're doing it, on your Uri Geller Effect, or you're being influenced by someone according to the Uri Geller Effect, you are only looking at phenomena. It's not repeatable. It is not the same. It's not going to be consistent. It's going to be dependent on the people present in terms of the nature of their energy. That's why you'll find, what does positive thinkers do? What does mediums do? All kinds of people, what do they not want around them? Negative people. Because it's going to affect the use of the ectoplasm in a negative way. They want positive people because then the message is aligned to those that is there to listen. So it's a mutual influential point. You can't trust any of the information coming through it. So please stop abusing life through using energy, especially positive energy. Positive energy isn't life. It is your self-interest manifested where you are deliberately seeking out others with a similar form of energy to form clusters of energy through which you manipulate and abuse the physical world. You cannot continue doing this. You need some integrity, and understand, those that are seeing what you're doing, they are not negative. They just have integrity, that which you lack. So get some integrity and start focusing on solving the physical problems in this world, which is taking care of every living thing on earth that is made of dust like you. You are on a star, one of the stars in the universe. You don't need to go to another star. You have to sort out this star. You have to be the star that sort this out. Any other place you're going to go to, you're going to do the same abusive stuff. So first sort out the reason and ways of abuse. Study the destiny message. It is not a positive message. It is not a negative message. It is a report exactly on how things function and work. But if you're positive and consumed by the positive, you will regard the truth as negative. Therefore, the truth will hurt. Why? Because you're hurting others in the name of your positiveness. It is only a karmic correction. Let the truth hurt you. Change and bring about a world that is best for all life.